Hello, I'm Royden Baillieu, and thank you for joining me for just a moment. Today I'd like to talk about something very simple, yet something many of us overlook, the whisper of God. We live in a world that shouts. Everywhere we turn, there is noise. News headlines shouting fear, social media shouting opinions, people talking over one another. Pressure, worry, rushing from one thing to the next. Even our minds can become noisy places. And perhaps because life is so loud, we sometimes expect God to be loud as well. We imagine that if God speaks, it must come like thunder, something dramatic, something impossible to miss. But very often, God whispers. There is a beautiful moment in the Bible when the prophet Elijah was exhausted, discouraged, and searching for God. A mighty wind came, then an earthquake, then fire. But God was not in those things. Instead, God came in a gentle whisper. I think many of us, like Elijah, sometimes life leaves us tired, disappointed, confused about where we are heading. We ask questions quietly in our hearts. God, are you there? Do you still see me? Do you still care? And while we wait for something dramatic, God may already be speaking softly into our lives. Not forcing, not demanding, simply whispering. Sometimes he whispers through peace, a peace that makes no sense during difficult times, sometimes through conscience, that gentle feeling reminding us to choose kindness instead of anger, forgiveness instead of bitterness, sometimes through another person, a phone call at the right moment, a few caring words. Someone simply saying, I was thinking about you today. And sometimes God whispers through silence itself. There are moments suddenly we become aware that we are not completely alone at all. Not every whisper can be explained. Looking back over my own life, I can honestly say that the moments God changed me most were really or rarely dramatic. Often they were quiet moments, moments I almost missed. A feeling to stop and pray, a quiet conversation in my heart, a moment of unexpected calm in the middle of struggle. Whispers. I wonder sometimes if God speaks quietly because whispers require us to come closer. You don't hear a whisper from a distance. You have to slow down, become still, listen carefully. Perhaps that is why silence can feel uncomfortable for many people today. Because silence leaves room for reflection, and reflection leaves room for God. The world constantly tells us to move faster. God may be God, saying, slow down for a moment. I'm here. There may be times, listening times tonight, you almost feel forgotten. Maybe life has not turned out the way you hoped. Maybe you feel tired inside. Is that is you? I want to gently remind you of something. Just because God seems quiet does not mean he is absent. Sometimes of the deepest work God does within us happens quietly, beneath the surface, when nobody else can see. A seed grows silently underground before anyone sees life appear above it. And perhaps your own life is like that right now. Something is growing, even if you can't see it. Before I finish tonight, I'd like to leave you with this thought. Maybe we spend too much time asking, God, why don't you speak louder? When perhaps God is asking us, why don't you slow down long enough to listen? Before you rush into tomorrow, before the television, before the phone, before the noise begins, sit quietly for just a moment. Breathe, be still, and listen. Because sometimes the whisper of God is closer than we think. And if these quiet reflections speak to your heart, perhaps you might like and subscribe and join me again for just a moment. Until next time, take care and God bless.